call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Baumgartner, Carroll, Cook, Crowder, Donovan, Garcia, Grantham, Guzman, Heath, Hill, Hodge, Holbert, John, Johnston, Jones, Jones,
Absent.
Kafalas, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez Minnick, Merrifield, Neville, Newell, Roberts, Scheffel, Scott, Sonnenberg, Stedman, Tate, Todd, Ulibarri,
Absent.
Woods, Jones. Mr. President,
Here. With 34 present, 1 absent, 0 excused, we have a quorum. Colleagues and guests, would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Senator Martinez-Huminick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Colleagues, we have a special treat this morning. The Auraria Chorale consists of 15 to 20 individuals from all 3 colleges on the Auraria campus, Metropolitan State University, University of Colorado Denver, and Community College of Denver, and some community members who were also interested. This is the first semester of this choir, and it has been a successful social experiment of joining forces among the schools and community through music. They will be singing the Star-Spangled Banner and Dreams of Thee. I believe I heard the voice of a Newell up there somewhere. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you for the rest of the session here. Colleagues, would you please help me thank Dr. Eugene Downing for joining us this session. You've really been an inspiration for us, and your spiritual attention has been certainly meaningful. It was nice of you to agree to do this and come back so many times. So thank you again for joining us this session if we don't see you again. Senator Donovan.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the Journal of Thursday, April 28th be dispensed with and the Journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is approved, as well as the Journal. Special orders. Second reading of bills. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move that the Senate proceed out of order for the purpose of taking up the consideration of resolutions calendar.
You've heard the motion. We will do that shortly. Committee reports. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Withdraw my motion.
Committee reports. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate lay over the special orders second reading of bills calendar to follow the general orders second reading of bills calendar.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Committee reports.
April 28, 2016, Committee on Finance, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1349 before the Committee of the Whole favor recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 28, 2016, Committee on Finance, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1402 before the Committee of the Whole favor recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 28, 2016, Committee on Finance, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1281 be postponed indefinitely. April 28, 2016, Committee on Finance, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1332 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. April 28, 2016, Committee on Transportation, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 194 be amended as follows and also amended for the Committee on Finance with favorable recommendation. April 28, 2016, Committee on Transportation, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1097 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 193 be amended as follows and also amended for the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1186 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 87 be amended as follows and also amended before the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1056 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 186 be amended as follows and also amended before the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1282 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following House Bill 1197 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 161 be amended as follows and not so amended before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. House Bill 1195 be postponed indefinitely. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 19 be amended as follows and not so amended before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 138 be amended as follows and not so amended before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. House Bill 1114 be referred to the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 81 be postponed indefinitely. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 143 be referred to the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 60 be postponed indefinitely. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 69 be amended as follows and not so amended for the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. House Bill 1324 be amended as follows and not so amended before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 180 be amended as follows and not so amended before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 201 be amended as follows and not be referred to the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 202 be amended as follows and not so amended before the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. House Bill 1280 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 203 be amended as follows and not so amended for the Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. Senate Bill 205 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 29, 2016, Committee on Appropriations, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. House Bill 1422 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 28, 2016, Committee on Education, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. House Bill 1291 be referred favorably to Committee on Appropriations. April 28, 2016, Committee on Education, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. House Bill 1289 be referred favorably to Committee on Appropriations. April 28, 2016, Committee on Education, after consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends following. House Bill 1373 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 28, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy is under consideration as that hearing on the following appointments, recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Tourism Office Board of Directors for a term expiring June 1, 2016, Andrea Fulton of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, serves as a representative of private travel attractions and casinos and occasioned by the resignation of Michael Andrew Duddick of Breckenridge, Colorado, appointed. For term expiring June 1, 2018, Kieran Kane of Lafayette, Colorado, serves as an at-large member from tourism-based industries and occasioned by the resignation of Robert Stimscomb of Lafayette, Colorado, appointed. For term expiring June 1, 2019, Matthew Skinner of Telluride, Colorado, serves as a representative of tourism-related transportation industries, reappointed. Sonia Quinn Riggs of Denver, Colorado, representative of the food, beverage, and the restaurant industry, reappointed. Michael May of Parker, Colorado, representative of the hotel, motel, and lodging industry, appointed. April 28, 2016, Mr. President, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy is under consideration as that hearing on the following appointments, recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Park and Wildlife Commission for terms expiring July 1, 2019, Christopher James Castillion of Denver, Colorado, serve as a representative of Outdoor Recreation and Utilities Parks, utilizes parks resources, reappointed. William G. Kane of Basalt, Colorado, serves as a representative of Outdoor Recreation and utilizes park resources, reappointed. John Vincent Howard of Boulder, Colorado, serves as a representative of Sports Persons, reappointed. April 28, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy is under consideration as that hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the State Board of Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund for a term expiring April 15, 2017, Holly Jean Vasquez Horvath of Denver, Colorado, a Democrat and resident in the 1st Congressional District and occasioned by the resignation of Peggy E. Montano of Denver, Colorado, appointed. For term expiring April 15, 2019, Catherine Ann Katnach of Denver, Colorado, serves as Republican from the 1st Congressional District, appointed. April 28, 2016, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends the following. House Bill 1310 be postponed indefinitely. April 28, 2016, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends the following. House Bill 1430 be postponed indefinitely. April 28, 2016, Mr. President, Committee on Education has had her consideration as that hearing on following appointments, recommends the appointment be confirmed. Member of the Board of Trustees for Colorado Mesa University, effective December 31st, 2015, for a term expiring December 31st, 2019. Joan D. Ringel of Denver, Colorado, a Democrat, reappointed. April 28, 2016, Mr. President, Committee on Education has had her consideration as that hearing on the following appointment and recommends the appointment be confirmed. Member of the Board of Trustees for Colorado Mesa University, effective December 31st, 2015, for a term expiring December 31st, 2019. Kelly Jean Bro, Denver, Colorado, a Democrat, appointed. April 28, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had her consideration as that hearing on the following appointment and recommends that the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Board of Trustees for Colorado Mesa University, effective December 31st, 2015, for a term expiring December 31st, 2019. Betty Cox Bechtel, Grand Junction, Colorado, a Democrat, reappointed. April 28, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Local Government has had her consideration as that hearing on the following appointment and recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Executive Director of the Department of Local Affairs, effective May 1st, 2015, for a term expiring at the pleasure of the Governor. Irving Leslie Halter of Colorado Springs, Colorado, and revocation by the resignation of Reeve Browns of Farida, Colorado, appointed. April 28, 2016, Committee on Local Government, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends following. Senate Concurrent Resolution 5 be amended as follows and as so amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Legislative Council, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends following. Senate Bill 156 be referred to Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. April 29, 2016, Committee on Legislative Council, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends following. Senate Bill 163 be referred to Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation.
Senate Services.
April 29, 2016, correctly printed, Senate Bill 20628, Senate Joint Resolutions 38 and 39, correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 3572, 150, 179, 183, 195, Senate Concurrent Resolution 2, correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bill 77, correctly revised, House Bills 1021, 1227, 1256, 1329, 1330, 1333, and 1359, correctly revised, House Bills 1390, 1397, and 1401.
Message from the House.
April 28, 2016, Mr. President, in response to the request from the Senate, the Speaker has appointed Representatives Mitch Bush as Chairman, Becker, Kay, and Rankin as House Conferees on the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 21. In response to the request from the Senate, the Speaker has appointed Representatives Vigil as Chairman, Becker, J, and Janal as House Conferees on the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 62.
Okay. Is there a leader shuffle?
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move that the Senate proceed out of order for the purposes of taking up the consideration of resolution calendar.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will proceed out of order for the consideration of resolutions calendar. Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 32.
Senate Joint Resolution 32 by Senator Marble and Representative Buck concerning the designation of the overpass across the United States Interstate Highway 25 at Hector River, Fort Collins as the Buchanan Liberty Bridge.
Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Joint Resolution 32 and ask that it be read at length.
Whereas Sergeant Thomas Tom Buchanan, a Marine and Colorado citizen, departed this life on March 5, 2016 at the age of 63. And whereas Sergeant Buchanan was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on May 24, 1952 and spent his childhood in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. And whereas in 1970, Sergeant Buchanan joined the United States Marine Corps and was trained at the School of Ground Radio Repair at 29 Palms and subsequently stationed at Camp Pendleton during his years of active service. Whereas following his discharge in 1973, Sergeant Buchanan relocated to Colorado in 1980, where he worked and raised his family of 10 children with his wife of 27 years. And whereas Sergeant Buchanan was an active veteran, a member of his community, and was known for his humility, positive attitude, and great care for his friends and neighbors. And whereas Sergeant Buchanan was instrumental in forming the Loveland Marine Corps League Detachment in 2006, for which he was promoted to and served as the League Commandant for 2 years and was serving as paymaster at the time of his death. And whereas among the many volunteer duties of the Loveland Marine Corps League Detachment, Sergeant Buchanan assisted in the collection of more than 10,000 worn American flags for proper disposal, the care and maintenance of the military cannon in Dwayne Webster Veterans Park, and the planning of several local parades and fundraisers. And whereas Sergeant Buchanan also orchestrated the singing of God Bless America at local events, so much so that it became his trademark in the community. And whereas for his efforts, Sergeant Buchanan was awarded Detachment Marine of the Year in 2009. And whereas Sergeant Buchanan assisted veterans and others to become and remain sober through Alcoholics Anonymous, helping anyone who called, no matter what time of day or night, and for which many people attributed Sergeant Buchanan to having saved their lives. And whereas as a proud veteran, Sergeant Buchanan was dedicated to assisting active duty families and wounded warriors, participating in memorial services and dedications, and orchestrating the display and waving of American flags on the Kechter Overpass on Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Veterans Day. And whereas Sergeant Buchanan was a community leader and a true patriot and dedicated his life to service, and it is fitting that he be recognized for his service to our nation. Now therefore be resolved by the Senate of the 70th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that the overpass across the United States Interstate Highway 25 at Kechter Road in Fort Collins be designated as the Buchanan Liberty Bridge, that the Colorado Department of Transportation may accept and expend gifts, grants, and donations for the purposes of the initial placement of signs to mark the overpass as the Buchanan Liberty Bridge, and that the Colorado Department of Transportation may explore a cooperative agreement with the Board of County Commissioners for Larimer County for the maintenance of the markings for the Buchanan Liberty Bridge. Be it further resolved that copies of this joint resolution be sent to Sergeant Buchanan's sons, Andy Brinsfield, Thomas Buchanan Jr., Brian Brinsfield, Steve Buchanan, Neil Buchanan, and Sam Buchanan, his daughters Angela Vara, Rochelle Chappelle, Dory Buchanan, Mary Jo Buchanan, friends Nancy Makudzinski, Kathy Blake, Rose Gagnon, Timmy Joe Given, Joe Lehan, Danny Lehan, David Lehan, and Solomon Martinez, the Loveland Marine Corps League Detachment number 1250, and the Board of County Commissioners of Larimer County.
Senator Marble, colleagues, please be seated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am going to do the unspeakable. I am going to offer an amendment to Senate Joint Resolution 32 because Sergeant Buchanan was such an incredible man. We actually left out two very important and very meaningful things that he did in Larimer County.
Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment 1?
Amendment 001 to Senate Joint Resolution 32 by Senator Marble. Amendment printed in Joint Resolution page 2 after line 17 add, whereas Sergeant Buchanan was one of the proud Veterans Day bell ringers of Loveland, Colorado, ringing the bells of freedom as has been done since 1918 and representing his city as a recognized regional site and model community for the observance of Veterans Day by the Department of Veterans Affairs. And page 2 after line 27 add, whereas Sergeant Buchanan was resolute in his commitment to his local community, including his successful efforts alongside other community members to save a row of majestic pine trees lining a stretch of Highway 34 previously slated for removal as part of a road expansion project.
Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move L001.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Amendment L001. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, Amendment 001 is adopted. Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, every now and then we are blessed to know someone who makes a profound impact in the direction we choose to take in our lives. Someone who can motivate you to be a step above even your own expectations, and then guarantee that if you stumble, they will be your safety net. Someone who looks beyond your faults and sees possibilities and limitless opportunity. Someone who reaches into the depths of your soul and says, you can do it. Someone who sees purpose and value in what others pass over as not worthy of a second glance. Someone you can confide in your most deepest regrets and burdens and listen as if you were the only person on earth. If you have ever met anyone like that, then I would have to say you know Tom Buchanan, a man who saw value and purpose in everyone he met and gave courage to those who lost their way. Tom found value and purpose in everything he did, everyone he met, and everything he saw. Tom saw a bridge of no real particular value or purpose, but he saw opportunity to spread the voice of freedom and liberty. Kechter Overpass became the meeting place for anyone and everyone to express their love for our state and our country, with a show of flag waving to impress all on I-25. Kechter Overpass had new meaning and purpose because of Tom Buchanan, a rock-solid voice of liberty in Larimer County and beyond.
Is there further discussion? Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I rise and support colleagues. What the good senator who preceded me said about Tom Buchanan. When I first met Tom, it was one of those situations where we were focusing on some issues of the day and happened to meet him, and he just had an overwhelming power to him. He was what I would call that good-hearted warrior, the guy that you look at and you realized he had a center of strength that is well too often missing. He understood the battle at hand, but he also understood how to touch people's hearts. And that is kind of a rarity. We don't see that often enough. But Tom had that great gift of being able to bring people together and bringing out betterness in them, including even politicians. And he had a way of staying so positive, but various groups that came together, he would just find a way to make them feel comfortable at home and then get people focused back on the key things that were important that brought all of us together. The idea of individual liberty, the idea of our country first. Those are the things that I'll always remember about Tom. He brought better things out of individuals. So colleagues, I rise in support.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. We, from time to time, do honor outstanding people with a memorial of a highway or, in this case, a bridge, and I can think of none more fitting than this designation, and I rise in strong support. You know, we know a lot of people, I'm sure, in our lives that are bigger than life. Well, Tom was at the top of the list there. He was such a bold leader, filled with humility, filled with purpose, filled with a desire to see liberty thrive in this great land we have. And he had such a love for our country. He, of course, was a Marine, and he was a father, a husband, a friend to so many. He was well known, I believe it was mentioned somewhere in the resolution, for leading people in the song "God Bless America," and not just anywhere, but you could be in a crowd of thousands and literally he'd start that song and inspire everyone. And Tom, I'm a guy who I think has a little bit of strength in my voice, but I felt like a pipsqueak next to Tom's ability to speak. You maybe saw a picture up there with a bullhorn. That was another thing that he carried around a lot, which he did not need at all because of his powerful, commanding voice. And it is indeed a great honor to stand here and to give a few moments of extra attention to this great American who we miss greatly.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had forgotten about meeting Sergeant Buchanan about 4 years ago. He was in uniform, and I went and thanked him for his service, and I gave the obligatory thank you for your service, and he asked if I'd served and mentioned my time in the Air Force, and he promptly said something about a flyboy, at which point I said something about a grunt. It escalated a little bit from there, and we enjoyed a good laugh, and he talked about some of the work he was doing. We talked about some of the challenges of watching some of our brothers and sisters in arms and their struggles right now, especially with alcoholism, and that's what I found out about his work with AA. And when the senator read about that in the resolution, it reminded me at the time, I walked away from that meeting, and I really had totally forgotten about it until the sponsor was reading about his work in AA. And I walked away from that meeting, and it was right at this time I'd work on memorizing poetry, and I'd been memorizing this one from Longfellow, Psalm of Life. And I remember it ended, and that just came back to mind today, so maybe I'd share with the family that the last three stanzas of Longfellow's poem says, lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that, and this is what reminded me of him especially, footprints that perhaps another sailing o'er life's solemn main, a forlorn, a shipwrecked brother, seeing shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. And I stand here to tell you that those footprints on the sands of time are indeed indelible footprints, and they've left their mark in my life as well.
Is there further discussion? Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I stand in support of SJR 032, and I thank the great senator from Broomfield for bringing it forward. I want to thank the family for joining us today, listening to Sergeant Buchanan's proud service, not only to this great nation, but his community, is commendable. As a Marine myself and a member of the Marine Corps League, I know it's no easy task to become a Marine of the Year within the Marine Corps League. Like the Marine Corps, its service stands above all. And so I want to note that this is a worthy tribute. I want to thank him for his service, thank the family for being here, and say, Semper Fi, Sergeant.
Is there further discussion? Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had probably one of the most amazing celebrations of life at Tom's funeral, and taps was played to an over-full house. Freedom and liberty was definitely in mourning that day, but everyone who knew him or anyone like him definitely carries the banner that he so adamantly chose to bear throughout his life. And when we talk about the footprints, which the good senator from Colorado Springs mentioned, may I say that Sergeant Buchanan did everything he did with only 5 toes. And 5 toes was his email address. He lost his leg, I believe it was in 1985. But it never slowed him down, and not once did you ever notice that he was missing a leg. You never knew. This was an incredible man with an incredible family. And I want to thank that family so much for being so selfless in sharing him with all the community and the people around the state of Colorado.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also rise for SJR 32. I did not know the man. I did not know Sergeant Buchanan, but what's impressive on this resolution is the time he got out, 1973. This is this period of time when the country was in turmoil due to the Vietnam War. And as I've stated many times, what we have done as veterans is to make sure that the homecoming of the future veterans from that war did not happen again. And it was people like Sergeant Buchanan who progressed that, who instill liberty and the goodness of all people and the goodness of the military. So I applaud his work, you know, and I was really touched by the flag waving on the bridge, you know, because that shows unity and liberty. And so even though I did not know him, I would have liked to have known him. Thank you very much.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 32. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 32 is adopted. Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the morning's roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Without objection, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors. I just wanted to share with the family that on behalf of the Senate, we are privileged that you have joined us here today. We, in the entire country, were honored by the service of Sergeant Buchanan, and we join with you in grieving his loss. Colleagues, the Senate will stand in a recess so that we can greet our guests. But please, let's thank them for joining us first. The Senate will be in recess. Senate will come back to order. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 34?
Senate Joint Resolution 34 by Senators Lambert, DeGrath, Representatives Carver, and Lawrence concerning the designation of the United States Highway 24 from mile marker 298 in Manitou Springs to mile marker 283 in Woodland Park as a Specialist Rob Lee Nichols Memorial Highway.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate lay over Senate Joint Resolution 34 to May 2nd.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Joint Resolution 34 will lay over until May 2nd. Excellent. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 38?
Senate Joint Resolution 38 by Senators Tate and Todd and Representative Janal Sias concerning the designation of May 2016 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Joint Resolution 38 and ask that I take 60 seconds to offer some brief commentary on the resolution.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution, the most simplest and generic terms, says motorcycle safety and training is important. I'm a motorcycle owner myself, and I'd like to read just two brief statements. First, approximately 15% of motorcycle crashes that result in hospitalization in the state take place in non-traffic situations such as parking lots and driveways. Many causes of motorcycle crashes may be attributed to a lack of experience or failure to appreciate the inherent operating characteristics and limitations of a motorcycle. I can attest that my one traffic accident with injury was when I rode into a ditch going 10 miles an hour. Riding a motorcycle, it's an idiosyncratic machine, and safety and training is important. Thank you.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I will reiterate that because I am not a motorcycle rider, but I did think that you could just hop on and ride, and I tipped over in a driveway. And so it is important that you're trained, that you know what you're doing, and that you have some experience. But I think part of the importance of this resolution is that share the road has been a theme that we've talked about with bicycles, with motorcycles, for us to recognize that it is an approved mode of transportation, and for all of us as drivers to become aware of and recognize the importance of safety. And in 2014, there were 4,295 motorcycle fatalities in the United States, accounting for 13% of all motor vehicle-related deaths that year. And so again, raising that awareness, recognizing that spring is coming. It doesn't feel like it today, but spring is coming, and we will see more motorcycles on the highways and on the roads, and for us to become aware of and share the road and be respectful of the safety that needs to take place. With that, we move Senate Joint Resolution 38 and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 38. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 absent, 0 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 38 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Tate, give it a shot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the morning roll call be added as co-sponsors, if there's no objection.
Is there objection? Seeing none, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 39?
Senate Joint Resolution 39 by Senators Scott and Baumgartner and Representative Willett concerning support for the Jordan Cove liquefied natural gas export facility.
Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I would like to ask that this be read at length.
Well, you got to move it first, and then we could entertain your request.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for straightening me out. I move Senate Joint Resolution 16-039 and ask that it be read at length.
Whereas the proposed Jordan Cove liquefied natural gas LNG terminal and storage facility within the Oregon International Port of Coos Bay is the only LNG facility in the western United States that would directly connect Colorado to new energy markets through the Ruby Pipeline, which originates in the Rocky Mountains and goes west. And whereas Jordan Cove will give Colorado access to international energy markets and provide significant economic opportunity for Western Colorado. And whereas Jordan Cove will provide federal, state, and local revenues derived from federal mineral royalties and state severance taxes collected on natural gas production. And whereas the United States supply of natural gas has increased significantly in the recent past, and Colorado ranks 6th in natural gas production nationally. And whereas the reduction in natural gas production in Western Colorado has resulted in job losses and economic depression for Western Colorado rural communities, with less revenue generated at the state and local level having a negative impact on the overall economic health of the region and the state. And whereas Jordan Cove has received bipartisan support from members of all levels of government, including Governor John Hickenlooper, U.S. Senator Michael Bennet, U.S. Senator Cory Gardner, U.S. Congressman Scott Tipton, and others. And whereas Colorado plays a major role in the American energy renaissance and in securing our national security. And whereas natural gas is clean burning and efficient, and ample supplies of natural gas are available from domestic resources such as Western Colorado. And whereas natural gas production in the United States recently has increased substantially due to technological advancements in natural gas extraction methods. And whereas this increased production has displaced traditional supply sources and resulted in reduced prices for natural gas consumers. And whereas the prospect of ample natural gas supplies, continued low prices, and the favorable environmental and economic position of natural gas-fired electric generation plants are leading to expectations of growing U.S. demand for natural gas, especially in the electric and industrial sectors, and for export as LNG. Now therefore be it resolved of the Senate of the 78th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, recognize the importance of jobs in the oil and natural gas industry to Western Colorado and the positive economic and national security impacts this industry brings to Colorado and the entire United States. That we support the development of the Jordan Cove LNG facility. Be it further resolved that copies of this joint resolution be sent to Governor John Hickenlooper, Norman C. Bay, Chairman of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, David Ludlam, Executive Director of the Western Slope Colorado Oil and Gas Association, Tracy Bentley, Executive Director of the Colorado Petroleum Council, Dan Haley, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Colorado Oil and Gas Association, Stan Dempsey, President of the Colorado Petroleum Association, and each member of Colorado's congressional delegation.
Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members, for indulging us in this resolution. We'll keep this short and sweet. We live in an incredible time. We've found in the last 8 to 10 years an amazing abundance of cheap, clean energy that can be used worldwide. Jordan Cove, you may not be familiar with Jordan Cove, but it's a beautiful place up by Coos Bay, Oregon. And the amazing part about this whole project is that that terminal was built to import natural gas, not to export natural gas. Just within the last 8 years, with all the new technology, the new shale plays that have been found around the United States, I should say North America, we now could be an exporting country. We now have that capability. Even more amazing is in February of this year, the first ever export took place out of Louisiana of LNG to Brazil. Now that's an amazing fact when you think about how many years that we've actually been an energy producing country and where we are on the global scale today. Countries like Lithuania, who I've met with their energy minister, are shut off because of Vladimir Putin's efforts to close pipelines. They're paying $15 per 1,000 cubic feet for natural gas coming in from Norway. You all have heard the prices from Western Colorado being about $3 per 1,000 cubic feet. You don't have to be a math major to figure that out. It's an exciting time for all of us in this country. As we go down this trail, there'll be more export terminals. There'll be more opportunities for us to export natural resources and make a tremendous difference in the economics in the state of Colorado and other western states. The Louisiana terminal is obviously taking products from the Pennsylvania area. There's all kinds of programs are being put in place to have transport ships that go down the Mississippi River to the export terminals. Pipelines are being built. It's an incredibly exciting time. We all know this country was built, and this economy, that the greatest economy in the world was built on cheap, abundant energy. So I think this is a great resolution, something for all of us to get behind for the people in the state of Colorado, even though it has mostly to do with my district, I must admit, but I have to throw that out there.
Senator Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, again, I rise in support of this as well. As you heard earlier from the good senator from Mesa County about the compressed natural gas going to Brazil, this opens the pathway for Colorado to also get into the international energy market by the natural gas going out to Jordan Cove. Also, Colorado ranks 6th in natural gas production nationally right now. So it might be to the point to where that would help us even more. And again, I'd like to mention that this was something that received bipartisan support from members of Congress, the United States Senate, and even our own Governor, John Hickenlooper, in support of this. And it also plays a major role in America's energy security and our national security. So I would ask for an aye vote on this resolution.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, we just heard about energy security. Remember, domestic production is all about energy security, but the first thing we do is start sending it abroad. I would call it energy insecurity. That's what this does. That undermines that whole argument that's been made through time. Members, I'm going to be voting no on this. I ask you to do the same. Why we're spending time to do a resolution that has no binding effect for a Canadian corporation in Coos Bay, Oregon, that is directly adjacent to the Oregon Dunes National Recreation. Yes, it is a beautiful area until this comes in. Why we would be doing that at this point, I don't know. So I'm asking for a no vote, and I'll leave it at that.
Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the comments from my great colleague from Louisville, Boulder, Louisville. Close enough. I appreciate your concerns, but I think the one thing to remember is that this particular project was already approved by the federal government for an import terminal. So we have an amazingly different attitude if we need something versus if we want to move something. So there was a demand that was identified just 8 short years ago that we were going to have to import natural resources, more than we already do. This was only one of the terminals that was built to import. There was a second terminal in Nova Scotia that was built to also import natural gas, because we actually believed we were going to have a shortage of natural gas. So that speaks volumes to the technology, the safety, the environmental protection that was in place and that the federal government approved when it was an import concept. So it would make absolutely no sense for them to not support an export facility to help bolster our economic security and create thousands and thousands of jobs. And not to mention an estimated, and I have to say estimated because we don't have exact numbers, $1 billion, with a B, dollars of revenue in the form of severance tax for the state of Colorado. That's big. That funds K-12, that helps higher education, that builds hospitals, that builds highways. That's called good.
Is there further discussion? Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I just did a quick Google search, and I'm concerned we might be asked to vote for a resolution that goes against the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's decision that denied the project a permit on March 11th, 2016. and they said the reason was that Verizon had not demonstrated the need for the project and that the benefits from the project would not outweigh the harm done to individual landowners to justify the use of eminent domain that so many of us are concerned about. The pipeline's backers had not yet found buyers for the natural gas at that time. Apparently, since then, they have found some buyers, but still, I question whether they have a permit to move forward.
Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. And my colleague is correct that there was an application that was denied, but that has changed now. That environment has changed. Japan, and I believe, I can't think of the other country at the moment, has committed to $70 billion, as I recall, of the production of that pipeline going to Japan to help those folks over there. Secondly, if you didn't know, the governor has just written a second letter asking for that permit to be approved due to the fact that what the federal government brought up has now been satisfied.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 39. Are there any no votes? Senator Jones. A roll call has been requested. Mr. Majors, would you please poll the senators?
Senators Aguilar. Aguilar, no. Baumgartner. Baumgartner, aye. Carroll. Carroll, no. Cook. Cook, aye. Crowder. Crowder, aye. Donovan. Donovan, aye. Garcia. Garcia, no. Grantham. Grantham, aye. Guzman. Guzman, no. Heath. Heath, aye. Hill. Hill, aye. Hodge. Hodge, aye. Holbert. Holbert, aye. John. John, aye. Johnston.
Absent.
Jones. Jones, no. Kafalis. Kafalis, no. Kerr. Kerr, no. Lambert. Lambert, aye. Lundberg. Lundberg, aye. Marble. Marble, aye. Martinez-Humanic. Martinez-Humanic, aye. Merrifield. Merrifield, no. Neville. Neville, aye. Newell. Newell, no. Roberts. Roberts, aye. Scheffel. Scheffel, aye. Scott. Scott, aye. Sonnenberg. Sonnenberg, aye. Stedman. Stedman, no. Tate. Tate, aye. Todd. Todd, aye. Ulibarri.
Absent.
Woods. Woods, aye. Johnston. Johnston, aye. Mr. President.
Aye.
Mr. President, aye.
With 24 ayes, 10 noes, 1 absent, 0 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 39 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Mr. Majority Leader, Senator Lundberg, Senator Woods, Senator Crowder, Senator Holbert, Senator Lambert, Senator Cook, Senator Neville, Senator Marble, Senator Grantham, Senator Sonnenberg, please add the President. Committee reports.
April 28, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Health and Human Services, out of consideration, as at a hearing on following appointments, recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Hospital Provider Fee Oversight and Advisory Board for terms expiring May 15, 2017. Anne Marie King White of Brighton, Colorado, member of a statewide organization of hospitals, reappointed for terms expiring May 15, 2019. William Patrick Heller of Denver, Colorado, an employee of the State Department, reappointed for terms expiring May 15, 2017. Christopher Daniel Reber of Castle Rock, Colorado, an employee of a Safety Net Hospital in Colorado, in case by the resident of James E. Schmerling of Denver, Colorado, appointed. April 28, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Health and Human Services had in consideration at the hearing on the following appointments, recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Traumatic Brain Injury Trust Fund Board for terms expiring June 30, 2018. Wendy Dietz Turman of Denver, Colorado, reappointed. Patrick E. Schneider John of Grand Junction, Colorado, appointed. April 28, 2016, Mr. Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends following Senate Bill 199 be amended as follows, and also amended before the Committee on Appropriations. A favorable recommendation. April 28, 2016, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends following House Bill 1277 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. April 28, 2016, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends following House Bill 1387 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation. April 28, 2016, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee, recommends following House Bill 1425 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar.
Consideration of House adherence. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title? Belay that. Moving back up the calendar. Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Mr. Majors, would you please read the titles of the bills on the third reading of bills, final passage, consent calendar?
House Bill 1333 by Representative Lee and Senator Sheffield and Heath concerning laws governing partnerships codified in Title VII of the Colorado Revised Statutes. House Bill 1330 by Representative Lee and Senator Sheffield and Heath concerning authority to file a correction statement with the Secretary of State if a document previously filed was delivered to the Secretary of State for filing an error. House Bill 1329 by Representative Lee and Senator Sheffield and Heath concerning laws governing limited liability companies codified in Article 80 of Title VII of the Colorado Revised Statutes. Senate Bill 195 by Senator Grantham and Representative Reagan concerning the annual appropriation of money in the Central Fund for Veteran Centers in the to the State Department of Human Services. Senate Bill 179 by Senators Roberts and Heath and Representatives Del Grosso and Lee concerning improvements to the processes used by the Department of Labor and Employment regarding the employment classification of individuals for purposes of unemployment insurance eligibility in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Sheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time I move that the Senate adopt the bills detailed on the third reading of bills for final passage consent calendar, which includes House Bill 1333, House Bill 1330, House Bill 1329, Senate Bill 195, and Senate Bill 179.
You have heard the motion. Is there further discussion on any of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar? Are there any no votes on any of the bills? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1333 is adopted. Co-sponsors. With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1330 is adopted. Co-sponsors. With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1329, House Bill 1329 is adopted. Co-sponsors. You forgot to hit the gavel. It's okay, we'll get it next time. With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 195 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Hill, Senator Aguilar, Senator Crowder, Senator Kafalis, Senator Roberts, Senator Heath, Senator Scott, Senator Jones, Senator Merrifield, Senator Kerr, co-sponsors, Senator Donovan, Senator Martinez-Humenick. Senator Baumgartner. Senator Lambert. Senator Cook. Senator Grantham. Senator Grantham will be removed as a co-sponsor. Senator Johnston. Please have the president. With Senator John. Senator Woods. With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 179 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Crowder, Senator Newell, Senator Kafalis, Senator Hodge, Senator Todd, Senator Tate, Senator Merrifield, Senator Martinez-Humenick, third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 150?
Senate Bill 150 by Senator Stebbins and Representative Vesgar. Concerning marriages by individuals who are parties to a civil union in connection therewith prohibiting marriages in circumstances in which one of the parties is already in a civil union with another individual, addressing the legal effect of parties to a civil union marrying each other, clarifying the dissolution process when parties to a civil union marry, and amending the bigamy statute to include parties to a civil union.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, colleagues. I move Senate Bill 150 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I come down to the microphone to explain my yes vote for Senate Bill 150 as amended. This is a bill that is started in a form that I didn't find that I could vote for, but I applaud the efforts that made with the sponsor to find the way to make it work, and I do believe it's appropriate for me to give a hopefully brief description as to where I think it works. And I believe it should be boiled down to what it is and what it isn't. Senate Bill 150 is dealing with a very specific legal complication in Colorado law, that being that individuals who have obtained both a civil union license and a marriage license who are seeking to dissolve those relationships or legal relationships find that they have a rather complicated path because they both exist and the law doesn't see them as the same. And Senate Bill 150 does actually merge those two licenses together. And that makes sense to make the legal process a little simpler, a little more straightforward. So that's what Senate Bill 150 is. What it is not is moving into the territory of whether the Colorado Constitution or the Obergefell decision by the Supreme Court has permanently established a new construct to the legal meaning of marriage in the state of Colorado. Now, I recognize that this is an issue that is very divisive There are two opinions, and they're on the polar opposites. Senate Bill 150 doesn't go there. That's why I'm voting yes. And in my opinion, that is because of the construction of the bill itself that will become law if it makes it through the entire legislative process, and also because of the legislative declaration that states that in clear terms. I believe the issue of the definition of marriage is a very important one that has dominated our political landscape for many years and will continue to. And I believe that the legislature should wrestle with the question, not just because of this issue, but because of every issue that emanates from a decision from the United States Supreme Court. I believe we need to look at that carefully and not just say, okay, they are the kings and the queens of the land, and whatever they say goes, period. That doesn't meet constitutional muster. It certainly corresponds with the understanding of many, but not all. I would refer to you to a decision that was made in a previous century where the president, I believe his last name was Lincoln, said, well, that decision holds for that particular case, but it, as I understand what he said, is that it should go no further. And if you look at Article 3 of the United States Constitution, you see that the Supreme Court is authorized with appellate jurisdiction in most matters and direct jurisdiction in very limited matters, that dealing between states and between the United States and other nations. But to presume that what the Supreme Court says is absolute law in all areas is not in the Constitution. And I believe that we need to look at that sometime, but that's not Senate Bill 150, and I recognize we need to stick to the bill, but in this case, in order to understand the bill, we have to understand what it is not. It is not going down that road one way or the other. And I leave with this one final point. Because this is such a divisive issue, and the reality is there are both sides of the opinions out there on the question of what is marriage and what role should civil government have in that. We've got to find ways to work together as a people. And I appeal to everyone in this body to figure that out. What I see occurring across this nation right now is anything but that. And as I say, I'm not believing, I believe it's you might say, a legal epistemological fallacy to presume that the Supreme Court is supreme and ultimate and to not be questioned. No, it is our job as the state legislature to balance the authority and the power of the federal government with the again, constitutional, i.e. 9th and 10th Amendments, authority and jurisdiction of the state governments as well. And for the people of Colorado, Senate Bill 150 doesn't go there. So I'm voting yes at this point.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the sponsor's effort over a couple of years to make this work. While we may have some disagreements on what the definition of marriage should and shouldn't be, I think we all can agree that the state should not be making it harder for people to live their daily lives. I believe this bill pulls the state back out and makes it easier for people to make their own decisions. It reduces the burden that our government places on our citizens, and I'm eager to support this bill.
Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I also thank the sponsor for his hard work on this delicate issue, to say the least. But I think this is that point where we have to, as a body, put policy over politics, and it's very difficult for us to do, especially this time of year. This is strictly policy. Has nothing to do with politics. Even though there may be some that want to go down that trail, I get that, I understand that. My beliefs are different than my good friend, but we do policy here. That's our job. I encourage a yes vote.
The President of the Senate finds the Chairman of State Affairs $5. Senator Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to thank my good friend from Denver, who for the last 8 years has continued the journey towards justice and equality for all of us. He's not wavered, and he's never been wrong. I've heard the words divisive and delicate. Those words don't come to mind for me in terms of this bill. Gay, lesbian, transgendered people who have the right now in Colorado to be married don't see this as divisive. It's right. It's sound. It's the law. Delicate, yes. My good friend who used that word, yes, it is delicate. It's delicate because it is a just situation. And it's about human rights. It's about what has been done through the Supreme Court and through Colorado's laws. This has been a long journey. 150, Senate Bill 150, does not have everything that I would like to see in it. But the good thing about it is it's another step in that long, long journey of bringing respect and humility and honesty to the law of Colorado. I want to thank my colleague, your journey of justice, seeking wholeness for all of us, will be so sorely missed in the next year, the next 4 years, the next 8 years, for however long this issue continues to be so important to all of us. Thank you for bringing this bill, and thank you to our colleague who has worked with the bill as well. I am adamantly supportive of the bill. Thank you very much.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Madam Minority Leader, I know you will carry on that journey for at least 2 more years. So thank you for that. Colleagues, thank you for your attention to this bill this morning, and thank you for the acknowledgement that this isn't about politics, this is about policy. This bill solves a problem. And like it or not, the problem was created by the evolution of the law. And to my colleague from Larimer County, thank you for the work you've done on the bill, and thank you for your words this morning. As someone who did not support the Colorado Civil Unions Act, as someone who does not support the right of people to be married, thank you for recognizing that the two of those things layered on top of each other has caused some very real problems and conflicts in the law that this bill will straighten out. This bill merges together the civil union and a marriage of a couple who subsequently marries after obtaining a civil union. And there are hundreds and hundreds of these couples living all across the state. I am sure every single one of us has a couple living in our district who is in this exact situation. Because as I said yesterday, 3 years ago when the civil unions law passed, hundreds of people went and obtained that license so that they could obtain important legal protections for their families, their children, their property, and their estates. They wanted that legal recognition. They wanted to hold their love out to the world for it to be acknowledged with equal respect and dignity as any other couple. And the civil union license created an opportunity for them to do that. It was not the same as marriage. It was always lesser and separate and unequal. And because of that, when the opportunity to marry became available, all those same people, almost to a T, I know a few that didn't, but the overwhelming majority went and got married as soon as they were able to. And why shouldn't they? Wouldn't you have done the same? Wouldn't you have wanted those same protections for your children and your property and your estate? It should be no surprise that there are people who have layered a marriage license on top of a civil union license. They did that because as each new step became available for them to obtain that legal recognition, those legal rights and protections, and the equal respect and dignity in the eyes of the law, they availed themselves of that. We should not fault them. But they've also put themselves in a position now where they have two different separate licenses for two separate legal statuses. And there are some confusion that arises for people in this situation, and that is the very real problem that this bill solves. It also closes some loopholes that became open when the opportunity to marry became available. It will no longer allow someone in a civil union with person A to go get married to person B and create those kind of confusing three-way relationships where if there is ever a dispute about property or parentage or anything, it would be very confusing in the law to try to straighten that out. We are avoiding those problems with the passage of Senate Bill 150. Senator, there are a lot of things we have disagreed about, and there are things I think we continue to disagree about, and yet we found a way to work together on this, and I'm very satisfied with the product of that collaboration and the fact that it's brought this bill to this point this morning, and I would ask for everyone's aye vote on Senate Bill 150. Thank you very much.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 150 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 150 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Jones, Senator Roberts, Senator Johnston, Senator Garcia, Senator John, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Aguilar, Minority Leader Guzman, Senator Heath, Senator Crowder, Senator Carroll, Senator Hill, Senator Merrifield, Senator Newell, Senator Hodge, Senator Todd, Senator Kafalis, Senator Donovan, Senator Kerr, Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 183?
Senate Bill 183 by Senator Shuffle and Card and Representatives Williams and Lawrence concerning clarification of the General Assembly's intent to maintain the Public Utility Commission authority over basic emergency services while prohibiting the regulation of Internet Protocol-enabled services by defining the term basic emergency service in a manner that is consistent with such intent.
Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move Senate Bill 183 on third reading for final passage, but respectfully request the permission of the body to run a third reading amendment.
Considering the request, granted. The motion before the body is the request for permission for offering a third reading amendment. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Permission granted. There is an amendment. We are going to correct a point of order. Senator Heath. Mr. Majors, would you please read the Heath Amendment to Senate Bill 183?
Amendment L030 to Senate Bill 183.
Senator Heath.
Thank you, Mr. President. In order to complement the excellent work of my two colleagues and sponsors of this bill, we need an appropriation to support the study group. So I will move Amendment 30.
Is there further discussion on Amendment 30? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just appreciate the work of my colleague. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on Amendment 30? Seeing none, are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, Amendment 30 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read? Well, now that we've granted permission to Senator Heath, would you like to request permission for yourselves? Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I would appreciate permission to run yet another third reading amendment.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. A roll call has been requested and withdrawn. The ayes have it. Permission granted. Mr. Majors, would you please read Amendment 29?
Amendment L029 to Senate Bill 183 by Senator Scheffel, Kerr, amended gross bill, page 2, strike lines 15 and 16, and substitute paren B, the committee.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to hear the amendment. I move Amendment 29 to Senate Bill 183. Colleagues, if you remember, we did a strike blow yesterday, creating a extensive and robust task force. After a night of lobbying, we're going to add 2 members to that at the request of some influential folks in this building, representatives from DORA and representative from Public Safety. So you remember there was a discussion about moving 911 possibly to another agency from PUC to Public Safety. It's a good discussion that we need to have over the interim, and so we're requesting an aye vote adding those 2 members or their representatives to the task force.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on Amendment 29? Seeing none, are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 1 absent, 0 excused, Amendment 29 is adopted. To the bill. Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I renew our motion to pass Senate Bill 183 on third reading and final passage.
Is there further discussion? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I have this correctly, it looks like this is the new flow chart of the bill. I would ask for a no vote.
Is there further discussion? Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, colleagues, after listening to this bill for 3 hours in our committee, it was a great bill. Now, not so much. I'll be voting no.
Is there further discussion? Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, sponsors on Senate Bill 183, thank you so much for your collaboration with all of us, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the discussion on this and all the support. Just want to remind folks where we're at. When we headed into Senate Bill 183, the status of things was an extensive and what I believe was overreaching rulemaking process from the PUC. Where we stand today is the governor has requested that that rulemaking be suspended indefinitely. The PUC has affirmed the request of the governor, and rulemaking has been suspended indefinitely. And what we've now done with Senate Bill 183 is to assemble a task force to discuss it. But as it stands today, rulemaking concerning an overreach or extensive regulation of 911 is not happening. And now the folks that are all interested in this can gather together and discuss that. That's an important discussion that needs to be had. I would request an aye vote.
Senator Heath.
Thank you, Mr. President. And a number of us were involved in this. And my concern all along has been that we have a 911 process that works. And that's what this bill is designed to do, to make certain that we have that conversation. I think it's also important to point out that the bill sponsors removed from the study group the ability to present a bill. And so there is no bill coming out of this. There is no provision that so many bills will come out of the study group. It is basically just to confirm that we have this conversation, and hopefully that will result in something next year that based on all of the recommendations. So I think we've put in process a wonderful opportunity to really fully discuss this and make certain that we have a 911 system that works for everybody. And once again, I want to commend both of the sponsors on making this happen. I strongly support where we are.
Is there further discussion? That is some cell phone. Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 183? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 183 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? Senator John, Senator Lambert, Senator Neville, Senator Newell, Senator Hodge, Senator Todd, Senator Tate, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Donovan, Senator Scott, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Roberts, Senator Stedman, Senator Aguilar, Senator Cook, Senator Crowder, Senator Merrifield, Senator Carroll, Senator Kerr, Senator Holbert, Senator Marble, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Garcia, Senator Woods, please add the president. With 9 ayes, 25 noes, 1 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 183 is lost. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1021.
House Bill 1021 by Representatives Salazar, Senators Ulibarri, and Roberts concerning providing the opportunity to collect identifying information from applicants for state-issued cards.
Senator Roberts. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1021 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1021 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? Senator Lundberg, Senator Marble, Senator Neville, Senator Lambert, Senator Holbert, Senator Woods, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Crowder, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Tate, Senator Scott, Senator Hill, with 22 ayes, 12 noes, 1 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1021 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Heath, Minority Leader Guzman, Senator Kafalis, Senator Aguilar, Senator Merrifield,